Capital Queers, Alex Reynolds Mystery. Book 3. Author, Fred Hunter. Publisher, St. Martin's Press, New York, 1999. Narrator, Eric Aust. Chapter 15. We didn't need to know where you were. We were following you, said Nelson. We were back in our room at the hotel. Mother was sitting at the desk, alternately beaming at me and looking concerned as any good mother would, whose son had just captured international assassins. Peter sat beside me on the foot of the bed, his hand a calming presence on the small of my back. Dunn and Hamilton were both leaning on the window ledge, their arms folded defiantly across their chest. They didn't look happy. It's standard procedure, Nelson continued. In a situation like that, since they didn't show up for the meeting, it figured they would try to pick you up when they thought all your protection was gone. It stood to reason that they would try to get you when they thought you were no longer being watched. You could have told us that was standard procedure, I said a bit testily. Nelson gave a slight shrug. I could have reassured you that we were with you if you'd left your earphone in. God, I hated it when he was right. But you did do well. You did exactly what you should have. Breaking away from them before getting in the car. There's no telling what would have happened if they'd gotten you on the road. And telling us where you were was very, very good. Quick thinking. But you knew where I was. But you didn't know that, so it was a very wise thing to do. Accept a compliment, darling, said Mother. So you have the Montanayans now, said Peter. What will you do with them? The one who tried to kill Alex is dead, and the other will be tried for murder. We picked up their priest, the head of their little cult, and he'll be charged with conspiracy to commit murder, if not in the case of your friends, then in trying to murder you, since he set up the meeting. The rest of them, I believe, will be deported. But are we in any more danger? Mother asked. Nelson looked at Hamilton. Would you like to answer that one? Hamilton waited for a beat before responding. I don't think so. We've contacted the Thai government and told them what was happening about the murders and their people being charged with it. The State Department will make it very clear to them how displeased we are with the actions of their people and that they've put our negotiations in jeopardy. He paused for a moment, then a slight smile appeared on his face. This may even actually give us a leg up in the negotiations. I looked at him as if he were an insect. I'm so happy we could oblige. His expression hardened. There's one thing you haven't told us. Where is the diamond? You know, you sound more and more like the Montanayans every time we meet, I said with a smile. The Thai government will want to know, and they will still expect it to be returned. Then they're out of luck. Their assassins killed the only people who could have answered that question. You're just going to have to tell them that the diamond is lost. You told us you had the diamond, Hamilton fumed. I lied. When? When you told us you had it, or when you said you didn't have it. I wanted you guys to think I had it so we could catch the killers. That's something I didn't think I could trust you to do on your own. You seemed a damn sight more interested in that stone than you did in our friends being killed, Mother said indignantly. So we used that to get you to capture them. Hamilton was beside himself with anger. His face turned red, and I thought if he didn't release some of that pressure, the top of his head might blow off. Dunn stood beside him, staring daggers at us, but apparently more capable of holding his temper than his partner was. Do you realize how much trouble you caused us? Do you have any idea how much tap dancing we're going to have to do to smooth things out with the Thai government? What are we going to tell them? That the whereabouts of the diamond died with Mason, I replied calmly. Reynolds, if you think you're... Nelson cut it. I think that's enough, gentlemen. Mr. Reynolds, Mrs. Reynolds, and Mr. Livesey have performed above and beyond the call of duty this evening and are understandably tired. For all intents and purposes, as far as they are concerned, and as far as I'm concerned, the diamond is lost to all, and their part in this episode is over. Hamilton crossed the room to Nelson. Oh, if you think this is over, you have another thing coming. We have a lot more questions about. I'm sure you do, Mr. Hamilton, but all further questions regarding this matter will be handled through proper channels. I must say that I'd never been prouder to have ever worked for Nelson than I was at that moment. After allowing the agents to bluster a little while longer, Nelson ushered Dunn and Hamilton out of our room. Mother rested her chin on her hand and looked Nelson up and down. Proper channels, Larry. That would be through you, wouldn't it? Nelson didn't smile, but he looked like he wanted to. Of course. These things have to be handled the right way. I don't think Mr. Dunn and Mr. Hamilton will give you any more problems. Whether they think so or not at the moment, they won't be questioning you again. I think they know that the diamond is lost. He turned to me and added, and so do I. The right corner of his mouth rose over so slightly. Very good work, Alex. Thank you, I said after a pause. As I've said, I never could get past the impression that Nelson could see through me, and that feeling was especially strong at that moment. Nelson gave a nod to Mother and said good evening and left us alone. It was about an hour before we would have to leave for the airport, the day after putting it into the Montanean Menace, as I would always think of it. The four of us, Mother, Peter, myself, and that damn dog, went for a walk along the Potomac, holding an informal post-mortem on the events of recent days. Now that it was truly over, the needless loss of Mason and Ryan came over me all at once, and I veered between sorrow and anger. But I think we all mostly felt a general sadness. You know, I said, I still don't understand why Ryan didn't just tell them where the diamond was. It might have saved him from being killed. Don't you, darling? Said Mother, eyeing me significantly. What? Alex, he was protecting us. He knew that if he told them we had the diamond, we would be next. Oh, God, I never thought of that, I said. I couldn't hold back the tears anymore. But it wasn't the sloppy sobbing of an anguish. It was more like a cleansing. Duffy had stopped to give an inquisitive sniff to a dandelion, and like obedient masters, the three of us had stopped along with him, without even realizing it. Mother looked at Peter and me for a moment. She smiled warmly and gave me a single nod. Then she tugged lightly at the leash. Duffy snapped to attention and panted happily, hurrying along with Mother as she walked away from us. She really is an amazing woman, said Peter. Yes, if she wasn't my mother, I think I'd have to adopt her. Are you ready? He put his arm around my waist. Yeah. I reached into my shirt pocket and pulled out the diamond. I held it for a moment between my thumb and index finger, letting the light glint off its pale violet facets. This is for you guys, I said. I could see Mason and Ryan smiling in my mind's eye. Then with one strong heave, I tossed it into the Potomac. Peter's arm tightened around my waist, and he leaned over and kissed me on the cheek. You know, somebody may find it someday. I kissed him back. God help them. Gay Mysteries audiobooks. I think it is easy to hate a label, but a face humanizes the word. So this effort is twofold. To offer comfort to those like myself that your world didn't end because you don't fit into the view of acceptable society on both sides. And in hopes of helping those with family that are LGBTQ, that it doesn't mean we are aliens from the child they once knew. Reassure them so they can maybe be supportive at the same time, being true to their values.